Hey, it's Mo Egger. The big question this football season, where are you going to watch all the big games? I've got the answer. Long Neck Sports Grill, 3 locations in northern Kentucky, Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood, each of them very easy to get to. The TV setup is unmatched, 4K TVs all over the place, and the sound is on for all the big games. You can't top the menu. I love the wings, and no place has a better beer selection. That's most important. Long Neck Sports Grill, perfect for football season. Stay late, come often. Mark Stoops refuses. Thankfully, Dr. Amelia Wiggins always answers our call. She is with OrthoCincy's, which, by the way, you never need an appointment with OrthoCincy's. They've got locations, Edgewood and Eastgate, that have extended hours on evenings and on Saturdays for your convenience. Locations all over the tri-state. Go to OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. Let's start with a fan favorite, Chris Evans, one of my favorite players. The word after the game on Sunday was a grade 2 PCL injury. Let's start with that. You hear about MCLs and ACLs all the time. PCLs maybe not quite as frequently. What is a PCL?
Yeah, so the PCL is a great question. The PCL is the other cruciate ligament. So we have 4 main ligaments in the knee. The 2 in the middle, the cruciate ligaments, cross each other. The anterior cruciate ligament, the ACL, is in front of the knee, and the PCL, the posterior cruciate ligament, is in the back of the knee. It's a much bigger ligament than the ACL. It's a lot stronger, and it's harder to injure, which is why we don't hear about it as common.
Yeah, I was going to ask you my next question. Does this mean that PCL injuries are less frequent? You kind of answered that, but are they less severe?
They can be less severe. They can also be more severe. They are less frequently injured just because the mechanism of how you injure the PCL, you basically have to land on a flexed knee and you push that shin bone back against the femur. So that you don't land like that on your knees frequently. In football, you do a little bit more, but the ACL is more frequently injured because the ACL is what holds your knee steady when you're cutting and pivoting. And we certainly do a lot more cutting and pivoting in football and sports than we do landing on that flexed knee. The PCL, when it's an isolated PCL injury, that can be less severe than an ACL injury. You know, ACLs, you obviously need the ACL to cut and pivot. So anytime that tears, we're pretty much looking at surgery. The PCL, if it's only the PCL that is injured, we can often just do rehab. You know, we can often treat that conservatively. So that's good news for him.
Is that what the grade 2 is in reference to? Is that a severity scale?
Exactly. The grade 2, yes, we grade ligament injuries based on how much movement there is at that ligament. So we break it down by millimeters actually, but we grade them 1, 2, and 3. Grade 1 being the least severe, grade 3 being a complete tear of that ligament. Grade 2, so there it's right in the middle, and we just look and see how stable the knee is. The grade 2s can often heal on their own. They usually take about 2 to 4 weeks. And the best thing that Chris Evans has going for him is that it was an isolated PCL injury. If you injure the PCL plus another ligament in the knee, that's when we start looking at requiring surgery because now you have 2 out of 4 ligaments that have been damaged. So his was an isolated injury. It sounds like grade 2, grade 1s and 2s, we can often heal conservatively. Grade 3s, sometimes we look a little bit more readily at surgery. But with this grade 2 injury, he's looking, 2 to 4 weeks, lucky, and then hopefully back in action.
Yeah, feels like he has at least skirted disaster for the time being. We at least got some detail about what Chris Evans is dealing with. Dax Hill, not so much. He's got a shoulder injury. They're saying week to week. Give me an idea of what sort of shoulder injuries are maybe less severe than the ones that could end a player's season.
Right. So, with any of our overhead throwing athletes, we're always going to get things like tendonitis, internal impingement, or external impingement. You can get some kind of degenerative labral tears and whatnot, just from the repetitive motions of throwing, tackling, things like that. So that could be what he's dealing with. Maybe this is just something chronic is kind of nagging him. and he just needs to take a few weeks off, do some rehab, maybe try some anti-inflammatories, and then hopefully get back out there. The more traumatic injuries like an AC sprain, or what we call a shoulder separation, that's very common in football. That would be more traumatic. That's a fall directly on the outside of the shoulder, and you get pain at that joint, AC joint on top of the shoulder. Those can take you out for a few more weeks. And then, of course, we have the more traumatic injuries like shoulder dislocations, things like that. Those typically require surgery to repair the labrum to keep that shoulder stable. But there's a lot of factors that go into those decisions as well.
Dr. Amelia Wiggins with OrthoCincy's is with us. Learn more at OrthoCincy.com. I want to ask you about a player who doesn't play for the Bengals, but a guy that the Bengals are supposed to see on later in the season, and a guy who's on a team that the Bengals could be competing with for a berth in the Super Bowl, and that's the Buffalo Bills and their quarterback, Josh Allen. He is being evaluated for a right elbow injury to the ulnar collateral ligament and related nerves. Now, he had a UCL injury during his rookie season. He had to miss 4 games. Is he dealing with something because of his pretty recent history that we could label as chronic?
I don't think so. First, I'll just say I'm active with this Buffalo Bills game, the Bengals versus Bills, the first of the year. So I'm so excited. We just secured the tickets last night. I'm ready to go. So I hope he's back in action. I think it'll be an exciting game. But no, I was looking at the film. When he got injured, he got hit. He was about to throw the ball. He got hit. His shoulder actually rotated. There was a valgus stress on his arm. That was very traumatic. I think if this is something that had been lingering for when he was a rookie in 2018, we would have seen him have more issues along the way. But he's had a great career so far. So I think that what took him out as a rookie has healed. This is a separate issue.
What causes a UCL injury? I know we always hear about this with baseball, and unfortunately, the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people, even with quarterbacks, is the dreaded Tommy John surgery. What determines whether or not that procedure is in play?
Exactly. So the UCL injury is absolutely more common in our baseball pitchers specifically because they do a lot of that external rotation, so they pull their shoulder back behind them. And then they put a lot of valgus stress on the elbows. Their elbow is kind of more in front, but the hand is back behind them. And then they have a lot of force to whip that ball around to pitch. So we see that a lot in baseball pitchers, quarterbacks, javelin throwers are another one that gets this UCL injury. And basically, if you don't have your UCL, then you're not going to get that force to fling the ball forward, to throw the ball. You'll start to lose power, accuracy, control. And that's really what we'll be looking for with him. If he'll get an MRI, that'll show if that UCL is injured or if it's another structure in the elbow that was injured. But if the UCL was damaged to the point where it can't heal on its own, some of those partial tears can heal on their own. But if it's a complete tear, then he's not going to be effective as a quarterback. And then that would be an indication to move forward with that Tommy John surgery.
Awesome insight, Dr. Amelia Wiggins. I certainly do appreciate the time. OrthoCincy Orthopedic Urgent Care again. Locations all throughout the tri-state, and for your convenience, extended evening hours in Edgewood and Eastgate and on Saturdays. And don't forget, you never need an appointment. Check out OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. Hey, it's Mo Egger. The big question this football season, where are you going to watch all the big games? I've got the answer. Long Neck Sports Grill, 3 locations in northern Kentucky, Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood, each of them very easy to get to. The TV setup is unmatched, 4K TVs all over the place, and the sound is on for all the big games. You can't top the menu. I love the wings, and no place has a better beer selection. That's most important. Long Neck Sports Grill, perfect for football season. Stay late. Come often.